right, welcome folks. Mill Spec Ops Monkey here. This is going to be your live Friday SITREP. It is 11 a.m. Central Time coming to you from the great state of Texas, and it is Friday the 13th of all days, and I think we're a couple days away from having our next blood moon, which is a super moon. That's going to be pretty cool, but anyway, without further ado, let me hop over to the map. But before I do so, I just want to remind you we have a new free app out there, downloadable. Just go out to your app store on your iOS or on your Android, and you should be able to get that. That app will actually take you to everything that we have content-wise, everything from the blogs to the SITREPs, and you should be able to get live pushes as well to your phone. So you'll get notifications and things like that when we go live. Now, I know some of this is still kind of in the beta phase, and they posted it when I don't think it was 100% ready to go. So if you have it now, you kind of got the pre-early look on it. So, but again, it's free, and it will help you kind of get everything tied together when we put stuff out there. So, all right, so without further ado, let's hop over here to our board. Now, we're starting out in Skyglass. Now, we're going to look at a couple things that are up. I think it's kind of an interesting day when I look at the current aircraft that are up. Okay, so we've got some a couple Sentries up, but that right there, that C-135 you see at the top, that is a nuke sniffer. All right, it is R-135, but it's a C variant or a WC variant. That one smells the air, takes air quality samples. So it is sniffing for any type of, radiation or nuclear, biological, chemical, whatever it may be. But that is, it's kind of like our sniffer helo on steroids. And then we've got another R-135 up too. Remember, these guys are surveillance planes, high-end surveillance stuff. Couple E6s, all right, those are up. Those are actually TACAMOs, which are going to be your ICBM early launch kind of command centers, airborne command centers. So if something goes awry, these guys can actually talk to our nuke, our ICBMs, and do a launch. So we got two of those up. And then we've got this little Dornier popping in over here. That is actually Spec Ops bird, all right? And so just so you guys can see it, I don't know where it's headed right now, but it took off out of the Panhandle. They operate out of that area. So anyway, I track those guys. I try not to dust them off too much just because they are Spec Ops guys and they are usually doing a pretty important mission. And so, but when he's headed north into the U.S., I don't worry about it too much, okay? So these you see at the top of the screen are going to be military intelligence birds. Again, those are 24-hour surveillance balloons watching you and me on a regular basis. Now, that is the current map. Let me go back here to about an hour ago on our watch list. I just want to show you so we can kind of get an idea. There's that Dornier 328 taken off. You can see it's already moved up the coast. There are those military intelligence balloons again. One more out over Baja, which is interesting. Kind of, it shows us a low level, but it's really not. There are the other R-135s. Now, that one, you're not seeing these two. Those took off earlier. There's the E3s we were talking about, but there's those, the sniffers, two of them, actually, just getting off the ground in that situation. Now, there were two more R-135s that have since disappeared on me. I don't know what happened to them. One looks like it was landing when I captured this, but that's not the big piece. Let's get over here to Europe. And we'll take a quick gander at what's going on over there, because that is going to be kind of what gives us an indicator on where we are in the EU. Okay, so you can see, again, R-135's up. And then we've got that P3, which is an interesting dynamic because when you start talking about P3, that's a Navy sub-hunter. Why is that P3 over that same Constanta location? I don't know, but we've had a lot of Q4 activity, a lot of R-135 activity, quite a bit of stuff over that particular spot, and they seem to have a pretty big interest on it. So, all right, now over here to the heavy lifts, just show you what's going on. You can see this little spaghetti chart as we look at it, but this is basically moving assets into play. Now, we've been spending a lot of money, and so these are the things being delivered outside of troops, you can also see that we are delivering a lot of equipment, and that's really the main thing. Right up against the border there, okay? So you've got Romania, looks like we're bringing stuff in. Poland, which is right on that border of Ukraine. That seems to be the feeder spot. Again, I think if anything was going to get hit, it'd be that area right there because the Russians are getting a little torqued. And then we got stuff headed up into Finland. Now, of course, you know Finland is about to join NATO, and if they do so, Russia has already said they're going to be pretty hot and heavy over that whole situation. They're not happy about it at all, okay? So that could actually escalate things a little bit. Now, I will show you some news articles here in just a minute to show you that Russia's already kind of putting the squeeze on them, okay, in terms of natural gas and gas flow, oil, okay. Over here to the U.S. on our heavies, you can see we got a C-17 coming out of Seattle, Wisconsin, Seattle, Washington. Little C-130 headed kind of northwest, and another one headed south. A really light day for C-130s and C-17s, to be honest, compared to what we normally see. Fridays are usually very heavy lift days, and today they are not. So there's that. All right, let's get over here to the air refuelers. I'll just show you. We still have a lot of activity happening right up here in the Panhandle. You see all those little circles. Those are air refuelers. Those are tankers, probably supporting fighter activity. Now remember, right off the coast of Savannah, we have an exercise going on right now. That ends this weekend, so we'll see if that air refueling continues to take place. And then the others seem to just be getting airborne headed westbound. So, but I don't know if that's tied to the current situation off of Savannah in terms of exercise or not, but we'll watch it. And then, of course, we got a whole bunch of them rolling out of, seem to be based in England, headed out over that same spot. Now remember, Constanta is that spot we've been watching, and look, they've got a ton of air refuelers up, which means they got fighters up. What is here that makes them want to put fighter support? That's Combat Air Patrol up over the region. Something we're not seeing or hearing about, but they are definitely concerned over that whole spot right there. And then if we look at just big picture, you can see this is kind of a roll-up. Air refuelers there we just talked about, and then you get into the movement of goods and assets. Europe is still very busy, even over into the Middle East. Again, big feeders up into right, along the borderline there, but up into Finland. So as they begin to join, so it looks like we got a lot of assets headed there. Now let's get over here to the United States. If I can get this thing to, let me find an aircraft that will send me. There we go. All right, and then there's your U.S. as you look at a roll-up from everything from the air refuelers to heavy cargo lifts. And so it's kind of a little spread out there, but a little activity down there in southern Texas or right there on the Gulf. But yeah, it's kind of spread out today. Very unusual, actually, for a Friday. Fridays are usually pretty busy. So, all right. So without further ado, let's hop back out of this. One thing I did want to point out, you guys may remember we had Flashbang was up in Chicago, or at least the Chicago area. I think this was yesterday, and I was looking at the aircraft up during his time, and I have not seen this but once or twice before. It's very rare to see this amount of command support up whenever a president is out and about. I never really saw it with Trump, not to this extent. So during his time while he was up here, we had 5 E6 commands that were up. There are 2 right in that center picture over Texas, Louisiana part. There are 2 into that. But 5 E6 commands. Again, the E6, that is going to be your TACAMOs. Those are going to be your aircraft that are airborne command centers, okay? ICPM launch codes. That's what you're thinking. Then, of course, we had both the Doomsday planes up, which you normally don't see both of them up. So that's the same thing, airborne command, okay? And then we had Air Force One plus the decoy Air Force One all up at the same time yesterday, which would indicate there was some type of heightened alert, or they were being very cautious on what was going on in the world. And so, again, I don't see that very often, so I wanted to point that out because that is a pretty interesting data point. It just goes to show you the level of concern we have right now, that we could be sucker punched at any point, I guess, right? So, okay, now let's go over here to our TFRs. We're going to look at the weather, TFRs, etc. Right? These boxes you see up here at the top, those are power outages. All right, these are fires. This is going to be Flashbang headed home this weekend. This is the Senior Living Center, or AKA the Village, the Brown Zone, and he is bugging out, headed home to Delaware this weekend. Now, this one right here, I want to say, let me just double check it. Yeah, it's hazards, and it is tied to a fire. So there's a fire here. Space operations, air show right here tucked into that. More air shows out here, a couple fire hazards, air show. That's a Beale. That's a normal security for that location. Another air show up here, air show out here. Now, one thing I did want to point out is this one is a normal security one. It's a military base, but this one right here is that's going to be HARP. And so HARP is back at it again. Now, if those not familiar with HARP, that's weather manipulation. Those are the guys that are doing things with the planet, with radio frequency or whatever the heck it may be. But looks like HARP is active yet again. And so, and you may remember this Denali mountain right here is a location that Obama went to, the Kenyan. Went up there and did his thing. I don't know what it was exactly, but that was the mountain that he visited. And anyway, just wanted to point that out if you kind of know the word Denali and everything it means. So speaking of volcanoes, pretty crazy right now. Now, I did see we had a increased solar flare, so I just want to point this out. That is kind of consistent. Whenever we get these big blasts from the sun, it does something to the magma on our planet. We get uptick in earthquakes, as well as volcanic activity, right? And so now these are only the ash, but I will show you we've got two blowing down here. That's Krakatoa, that's Mainam, and then we've got this one up here in Russia, and then this one here that is kind of in between Russia. I guess that considers Russia as well. If you get in close, you can see the actual ash alert locations. Sometimes these blow and they send ash over the U.S. and don't really hear people talking about that too much. Then we've got these 5 through here, all the way from Guatemala down to just north of Bolivia and Peru. And so that's kind of an uptick. We normally don't see that many, like I said before. But okay, over here to live traffic. I just want to see what we've got tracking in terms of interest on the planet. Now, this NATO looks to be one that is, again, wearing a hole in the sky. Look at that perfect round circle. Again, I think that's man in the middle, only because I talked to some AWACS Sentry pilots that told me they had that capability, and when I saw that, that's what they were really seeing. So I'm kind of sticking with it. But that right there is, again, this is Constanta. That's the spot we've been watching. This is the activity. Something definitely is afoot in this general region that they have eyes on, okay? All right, now that's that one. Let's see about this one here. This DF-12 is actually going to be, this is that Navy P-3. You can see it's out there. It's a Ares 2 Orion P-3. Again, that's a sub-hunter. But it's got some other capabilities. And again, Constanta, so they are sweeping in almost like that same pattern you see on the R-135s that are doing that reconnaissance or surveillance. Could be some underground tunnel stuff they're looking at. There's no telling, but that is a U.S. Navy asset working that area right there, okay? All right, over here to Flashbang Schedule today. Let's see what this dumpster fire is going on. Looks like he's meeting with the King of Jordan and his wife. And then he talks about the police, which we know he doesn't really care much about. And then this U.S. Asian Summit stuff going on. and then he heads to Newcastle, Delaware. So this right here, the reason he's probably meeting with the king of Jordan is because he's about to go to Israel, and he's about to drop a big turd right in the punch bowl in Israel, talking about basically Palestine having a capital. And so he's going to stir the pot over there for him. So that may be why he's looking for a little support. We'll see. All right. Okay. Let's get over here to the fact sheet real fast. I want to show you what kind of rubbish is being pushed out today. This is actually from May 10th, 3 days old. U.S. State Department, or sorry, U.S. DOD, talking about the amount of money that they've spent on Ukraine so far. $4.5 billion since Biden has taken office. Now, we know that's not accurate because, of course, here is a list of all the stuff that he has spent. Remember, there are black programs, and there's a lot of spending that are off the books that we don't see or have visibility to. But you see a $40 billion bill going through, and then we've rattled through all of the collective amounts that have been pushed through, that each one has been more than just this right here, the 4.5 billion. I mean, we watched 3 billion here, 4 billion there. It's been kind of rolling up. It's actually, I think, about to exceed, if they pass this 40 billion budget, it's going to exceed what we spent going into year one of Desert Storm, I think, or Iraqi Freedom or something along those lines. It's a lot of money. Of course, that ended up being a lot more money too. But if you look at it and you just kind of roll it all together, it looks to be about $58 million a day is about what we're spending, which is about $2.4 million per hour on a 24/7 clock. So we are spending a lot of dough, trying to keep the Russians off there. So got to be a reason for it, folks. I'm telling you, I don't see us doing that anywhere else, and I don't think Trump would be doing that either. So just food for thought. All right, so we've gone through the heavies. We've looked at a lot of this other stuff. We've looked at the refuelers. Let's get over here to the water, and let's just take a look at Shanghai. I just want to show you what's going on. Now, remember, that place, they say for every week it's shut down, it's 6 weeks to recover. We were actually shut down a little over 6 weeks, but you can see there's still a pretty good buildup, although things are starting to flow. And then also just want to show you the proximity to Taiwan. That's your Taiwan right there. So you can see right down the street is where, if that goes hot, that could disrupt that whole region in terms of cargo vessels and the flow of goods as well. Okay. Now this is Long Beach. Long Beach is actually starting to thin out, and that's because there's nothing coming in. What you see, those red dots, those are oil tankers. All the stuff that are circles in up into the port are being unloaded, and then once they're done and clear, they send them back out. So they're not really going anywhere. It'll probably be empty containers. Get over here to the Black Sea. You can see the flow continues to Russia. I mean, it is a well-oiled machine right there. And then this place, Constanta, that's a spot we've been watching. That's where that P3 is in there. That's where we've had the Q4 drones over that area looking very closely. I don't know what's out there. All I see are oil tankers, some tugboats, and a handful of cargo ships. Now, remember, the cargo ships could very well contain something like a Club K missile system, okay? So that is something to definitely watch. Now, let me get over here to this. This is a marine vessel traffic ship tracker. This is nothing but military ships around the world, everybody. It's the U.S., Russia, it's anybody and everybody, okay? Typically, you don't see a lot of them, at least you normally don't see a lot of them. So what I wanted to do was just kind of show you where a majority of the military vessels are in terms of navies around the world, okay? You can notice there is a massive buildup in this general area of naval assets, all right? So that seems to be where everybody's kind of hanging out. That's the new hood, all right? You get down here into the Black Sea, and you can see these are military vessels here. It's a little bit of a mix. These are Bulgarians. You get in closer, you can see they're actually in port. That is right in that same spot of Constanta. And then you get over here, and this is the Russian stuff. Again, you don't always see everything, but this is pretty impressive. I was actually surprised to be able to find all this. And we'll look at this closer as things escalate. Again, this is Istanbul. This is Turkey. And so this is basically their seaport here. This is where everybody's passing through. But you can see there's a lot of naval assets in that general region. And if you back it up and you get over here to this side of it, that right there is, for the most part, those are a lot of U.S. naval assets, okay? As well as their own country stuff too. But yeah, this is just give you an idea where everybody is kind of clamoring to, and it seems to be right here. A lot of NATO vessels. So if that place was going to go hot, that seems to be a pretty good indicator to the fact that we've got all of our naval assets. Everybody does in that typical region right here, which is what you would expect to see given the amount of flights that we have pumping in and out of there with troops and assets and everything else. So that's a lot of ships. All right. And then right here along China, you can see, again, more stuff that's kind of built up. A lot of this are actually Chinese craft, okay? And that looks to be U.S. stuff there. But anyway, this website is called marinevesseltraffic.com, and you can just click on it, take you right into the military ship tracking. It does have some aircraft tracking on it. Not very good. I clicked on it just for S&Gs, and I'll be honest with you, it's not a touch on Skyglass. Skyglass is just state-of-the-art future, and so we will stick with that, okay? All right, let's get over here to early warning. I just want to show you, we were talking about the Four Horsemen in my thumbnail. How soon till these dudes start riding, right? A lot of folks think, man, they are right. They got to be at the gate because the stuff that's going on around the world it's unprecedented, right? There's just, this is a time that I don't think we've ever experienced. Even during World War II, we didn't have that nuclear capability we have today that changes things. We also didn't have the amount of food shortages. We didn't have crop failures and all the other stuff. Just, it's like the perfect storm coming, right? And so, I just want to point this out. Sri Lanka is the first domino to fall in the global collapse. They look like they are suffering from 22% inflation, and hang on to your shorts because that's coming to America. I can guarantee it. They're having massive food shortages, and they're actually, mobs are starting to attack the prime minister's compound. All right. So again, that unrest, this is right along the lines of what you're probably going to see here in the U.S. I will tell you that the interest rates or the inflation here is also going to go through the roof. It's going to happen around the world as you start to have the shortages. That's just economics, okay? So, okay, let me see here. There was a couple other data points I wanted to talk about on this just to show you. Oh, here we go. We're talking about Russia starting to make adjustments in terms of cutting off the flow of oil and gas. And so right now it says that if they shut this off, right, they control these oil pipelines. You can see them running across Ukraine. Over here on the Russian side, if they shut those off, that is basically going to halt 30% of Russian flow of gas into Europe. So that's a 30% hit. Very important data point because, as you know, they're already being squeezed over there, okay? Now, just to touch base on this, I meant to go to this article before I jumped into the gas flow issue, but Sri Lanka issues a shoot-on-sight order to quell the unrest. So as people are getting jiggy, they have now been authorized, the police have been authorized to basically start killing people. So, yes, can't make that stuff up, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, so we talk about the gasoline stops and the shortages. You see Fancy Pants Pelosi is pushing for a new bill to control pricing because they know all of this stuff is about to go through the roof, including inflation. You're not going to be able to stop that. But this whole thing here, this baby formula shortage, they're saying it's going to persist for months. And the reason for it is because they basically just shuttered one of the Abbott laboratory plants in Michigan that was a major producer of that. And it says it's going to take them a good 6 to 8 weeks just to get that stuff back up and running and onto shelves again. And so if that's you're talking 2 months out, okay? Now, let me get back up here real fast. There was some other stuff here I did want to show you relative to, and it was China's basically making a pretty big push right now too. There's a lot of stuff in here. If you get a chance over on Forward Observer, go check it out. There are tons and tons of write-ups about China and China's moves right now relative to their Navy and their big moves. But what I wanted to show you was Russia is talking about taking action on Finland because Finland is about to join NATO. And so they are basically going to shut off the gas supplies that's headed into their region, which is going to also put the squeeze on them. Now, here's another little data point. They're saying that the Russian gas sanctions are starting to fall apart because other countries are saying, hey, we can't do this. You're killing our economy. We are reliant on that gas and oil to come through. And so behind the scenes, they are basically paying and working deals in rubles to pay for their gas and oil with Russia directly. So yeah, there's that. All right, data point. All right, so here we go. We're just talking about this. Russia prepares to cut gas supplies to Finland on Friday. That is today. So again, they're doing that because Finland is about to join NATO and Russia isn't happy about it. That is also why you keep seeing the buildup and the aircraft we show headed all the way up into Finland because we are starting to stack up forces in the region, okay? All right, and then here's another good news story. OPEC misses production target by a whopping 2.7 million barrels per day. So just drives up the cost again. They seem to be falling short. Was it on purpose? Who knows? But it's just, again, icing on the cake when it comes to food and oil and gas and everything else. All right. Now, this one is interesting because I do want to show you. We're talking about Finland. We're talking about Finland joining NATO. Erdogan is actually not happy about it. And he's basically saying he's going to block it between Finland and Sweden's NATO applications, claiming that their home is home to terrorist organizations. I don't know about all that, but I will tell you what's interesting is the fact that Turkey, Iran, and Russia are all aligned. They are all part of that Gog Magog, Ezekiel 38 stuff. So to see him show favoritism towards that not happening, that would be leaning towards Russia because Russia doesn't want that to happen, okay? So it's that alliance that they have, all right? Okay, now here on the U.S. soil, diesel to be rationed on the East Coast this summer, warns one U.S. Oil billionaire. He says it's coming in the months because of the shortages. They're going to have to ration. That's going to impact all kinds of things from farming to the movement of goods, trucks, and things like that. So, again, salt on the wound, folks. We've already got food shortages coming. We know we're going to be impacted by the stuff coming out of China, out of Shanghai. And so now all of a sudden you start rationing diesel fuel and a bunch of other stuff. It just is compounding. Doesn't seem to be any kind of break at all in any of this. All right, over to our Star Wars map. Let's look at the cyber attacks going on right now. It looks to be U.S. centric. We're getting peppered quite a bit here today. It is not as heavy as I've seen it, but it's also not very light. So that right there will be a pretty good indicator when things are about to go hot, because we will see this lighting up like a Christmas tree. Okay. All right, Biggs Army Airfield. It looks to me, from everything that I'm seeing on the Biggs rotation piece, that we are starting to move immigrants again. It looks like these are probably going to be poppies coming out of Afghanistan. We have an arrival coming in from Indianapolis. The last time that happened, those were moving folks into the big camp, the giant tent facility there at Biggs. Of course, we've got this is an Atlas Air 767-300 coming, or actually leaving and headed to Indianapolis. And then we've got the Swift Air 737-300 coming from El Paso. Again, that would indicate that that's an immigrant-related flight, okay? All right, over to McGuire. Now, the reason I show McGuire is because McGuire is kind of the home base that has been set up to receive 2,000 Afghani immigrants a month. From there, they come into that location and they're either home there through their housing programs, or they are sent abroad into the United States into other camp locations. Remember, last count, we were sitting at about 38 installations around the United States that were set up for immigrants. Okay, so we'll continue to watch that, but that I'm not seeing anything on the board just yet other than this Air Transport International coming. Looks like it's scheduled from Washington, Baltimore, Washington. Don't know if that's troops. Don't know if that is immigrant related. More than likely it's immigrant. Okay. All right, over to the Canberra flights. Troop movers. We got 3 rolling out. We've got one that looks to be, I don't know where that is. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, but one out of Dover and one out of Naples down in Italy. So you can see they are headed out. There's the one out of Dover. But yeah, looks like we got something heading into the Middle East, something into Europe, and then something here headed across the drink. So we continue to move troops into the region. So this is a pretty good indicator that things are not by any means going down. They're actually, every day we just keep adding and adding and adding more to it. In terms of money, you see the money being spent. It's absolutely insane. So, all right, this is going to be your Royal Air Force troop movers. And so you can see they are also very busy. Same thing here, this flight coming out of the U.S., headed back across the drink. And then we've got several right here in the region moving troops around, okay? All right, this is the Omni Air. I just wanted to show you. This one's coming out of Baltimore, Maryland into El Paso, Texas. That's going to be immigrants, folks. Almost 100%. 100% coming out of BWI, headed into El Paso. That's bringing in, more than likely, those are a fresh set of legs of poppies coming into the country. All right, again, big immigrant housing location right here. All right, over to the Ruskies. Let's see here. This one landed an hour and 51 minutes ago. I just want to show you. It came out of Tajikistan. Probably didn't say that right. Into back to Moscow. So in their reporting to Putin, he has not been flying a lot lately. He seems to be hanging out in that region. So, but yeah, this is going to be one of your dignitary birds flying out and coming back in. Now, we've seen him fly all over the place here as of recent. So, okay, the immigrant machine. Now, you guys can see, look at the flights headed down south into Central and South America. We've got one over here. Looks like that stopped out here in Puerto Rico, then down to South America. And then these are across the U.S. All right. So the reason I'm showing you that is because if you get over here to our projects, let me see if I can pull this up. Let's get to Amazon just to show you. This is what they're feeding. Let me do this and close that. This is the machine that they're feeding. So when you see all those flights rolling in and out of down here into the Central and South America, they're bringing them in here and they're basically working at the Amazon locations. And so when you see them on Fridays bugging out down south, they're bringing people home. And when you see them headed back and forth across, it's just a support system, okay? So there's that one. And then if we look at the immigrant camps, I was just talking about this. This is, let me hit this and minimize it. But I just want to show you when we were saying the fact that they are bringing immigrants into the country, and these are the immigrant housing locations as we go across. The red ones, these are pretty big actually, and these are ones that you can see still very active, but they're everywhere. And these are military installations or campsites or processing centers. The little blue ones are for kids. All right. So it is a well-oiled machine, as you can see, But yeah, you get up here, you get Fort Dix. That's the one we're looking at right here. That's one, McGuire Air Base, where they house people. But yeah, bet you didn't even know this one down here in Guantanamo Bay is a migrant operations center. So, like I said, well-oiled machine. Even if you get over here to Europe, when the war started breaking out, they actually popped up these two to house people coming out of Ukraine and bringing them in. Now, that is one heck of a track right there. So this one, again, it was designed to set up to bring people in from Ukraine. Same thing with Poland. Now, that one makes sense because it's right on the border, and that's where we see a lot of these replenishment flights coming inbound to this, probably bringing supplies for immigrants, as well as feeding things into Ukraine from there. Okay. All right. Now, this is part of the immigrant piece. Illegal immigrants are getting pallets of baby formula, and while our shelves are bare. So it just add, again, insult to injury as we watch these folks come into our country with a baby on their side. I get it. You got to feed them, and I understand that. But it doesn't make a lot of sense when we're approving $40 billion, or we're spending, $5 million an hour, 24 hours a day, yet we can't seem to get baby formula on our shelves to feed the kids. So pretty bad. All right, over here to Guantanamo Bay, because it just is not complete without doing that. Let's take a look and see what we've got going on the spa for today. This looks to be N82ML. This is a normal Tuesday, Friday aircraft that comes in, brings contractors in. This is your Legal Eagle Uber from Jacksonville. All right. And then this is your cargo flight coming in from Norfolk. Happens every Friday. So I don't see anything on the board here that would indicate that anything is out of whack. Now, this right here, as you get into Monday, we talked about that. That's a Graybird. That's Phoenix Air, out of sequence. This one right here, coming in from Palm Beach, out of sequence. So we do have some of those still peppering in and out of the spa. We will just continue to keep our eye on it and see if we hit this uptick again. Most of those, when they're coming in out of sequence, are actually tied to some type of human trafficking. There's a lot of trials going on there that are classified that we don't have access to. So, okay, that is going to wrap us up for today on our SITREP. By the way, again, I get this request all the time for my show hats. All right, so if you want this show hat, I'll put it out there. I sign them, and it is basically up for grabs. So this will be on the website if you want it. This one's pink and black, a one-off. It's a prototype. I haven't made a bunch of them yet. I just made it for the show. So if you want the hat, it'll be out there on the shop and the site here in a couple hours. So listen, that's it. You guys be safe out there. This world is changing by the day, and I expect war to be going hot and crazy at any point now. It just seems like you can't continue to build up and build up and build up and not have something pop off here shortly. So for those that actually gave in the super chat, thank you. Very kind. I am humbled by it. We thank you for your support. And everybody else that's a part of the Monkey Nation over there on the member side, don't forget we got Q&A directly after this. You guys should have a link in your inbox. We'll see you guys over there. Listen, I hope you have a blessed and fantastic weekend. And definitely keep that powder dry and stay frosty. We'll talk soon. God bless. Monkey out. Check out the latest gear and products at monkeyworksus.com.